Welcome to Root Cause Medicine, presented by Spirit of Health, transforming lives through real health solutions.
All right,
here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Well, hey guys, it's Hannah and Rana here from Spirit of Health. We are some of the wellness consultants, and we are really excited to talk to you guys about
Who we are.
Yeah,
what
who
we
we
do.
are, testimonials, some of the favorite things that have made big changes in our lives and in our clients' lives. So,
Yeah, let's get started.
yeah.
So I was thinking as you were talking, let's talk about how you got here. I love your story of how you came to Spirit of Health. Would you share?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually found Spirit of Health about 10 years ago now on YouTube. So, yep, found it on YouTube. And just remember searching for herbs and cleansing, things like that, and found Vaughn's videos and loved them. And so was listening to him all the time for a few years. And then I decided I wanted to study naturopathy. And so I reached out to him and he told me that they were hiring. And so I applied. And it honestly was God, because I bombed the initial interview with the manager at the time.
Just like a phone interview?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like a week later. And so I contacted her a few weeks later. I was like, is the position still available? I would love to re-interview. And she was like, yep, let's do another interview. That went great. I got it, moved out a couple weeks later, and thought I would be here a few years, but 7 years later, I'm
Did you
still
say
here.
where you were living?
I'm from Ohio, so.
So you'd never been here. You had no idea what it looked like. And
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at how many people say that they found us from YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I knew until after I started working here that there was such a big YouTube following, or how many videos we had done or Vaughn had done. So I think that's awesome, and that's how you got here.
Yeah.
And now you've worked for Spirit of Health how long?
It's been 7 years.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, and I remember meeting you probably five or 6 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been, about.
When you came
We're
in.
friends because of Spirit of Health.
I know. Yeah.
And now we work together.
I know. It's great.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you hear about Spirit of Health?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's really funny because I think a lot of times people's story are like, yeah, well, we started working together and then we became friends.
Yeah.
But our story is a little bit different. Like, we became friends and then we started working together, but also because of the same company. It's very interesting. But I came to Spirit of Health as a client actually several years ago. So probably about 5 years ago, 6 years ago maybe. I was going through this super surprising chronic health issues where I was dealing with these weird nervous system stuff. I'm left-handed, my hand actually stopped working, and I was crippled from my left hand. I don't know if we knew each other at that time, but it would have been, I guess, after that we met. But I had, gone to chiropractors trying to figure out what's going on, and went to the doctor, got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, was told, you can't get better.
Wow.
We can only slow down your progress. This is incurable. And I remember the neurologist said to me, I could probably quote it, that, well, most people have about 10 to 15 years before they need assistance walking. And I was my friend came with me to my appointment, and afterwards we were both just like, she said that like it was a positive thing, and I'm here, I'm not even 30, and I'm like, I'm gonna need assistance walking. And my friend was like, this is not cool. This is not the way it is. It's not supposed to be. Like, I don't believe that. We're gonna get another opinion. So she introduced me to Spirit of Health and booked an appointment for me to see Vaughn. And I just remember the biggest thing about that was so drawing to me was the hope that was there. And Vaughn said like, oh no, I definitely believe that the body can heal, and there's definitely stuff that can be done. And that just kind of thrust me into like all this natural health stuff where I hadn't really grown up that way at all. And so then had just always loved Spirit of Health. Like, I think anybody who's ever been to the store is like, oh, this place just feels so peaceful. It's so good. And there's so much joy of the Lord. And it definitely is. And now working here, obviously feel the same thing. But so I knew I wanted to work here. And then I actually started working, you remember, because you were the manager.
Yeah.
And I came in and we had become friends through me seeing Vaughn as a client. And then you're like, just so you know, we're hiring. And and then here, the rest is history, I guess.
I know.
Yeah. I realized as I was talking, like I mentioned a little bit about my history with health as far as like I grew up not in natural health at all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Is that the same story for you or you?
Yeah. Standard American diet.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. Sad.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
my mom got me interested in it. She started doing the Hallelujah Acres diet, and
I don't know that one.
yeah, like plant-based, eating a lot better, started seeing a naturopath herself, taking herbs, and I saw how much better she was getting. And so I was like, what is this? Because I had always been interested in health and fitness. And once I found Spirit of Health on YouTube, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like God designed our bodies to heal, and
Yeah.
detoxing and using herbs and all these healing therapies. It was like a whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you kind of start nerding out on it.
Oh my gosh.
You
yeah.
start learning about like new therapies and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to try that. I mean, I know you and I are similar that way where it's like
Yeah.
we hear about a new product, we're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm going to try that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, get kind of geeky. Yeah, mine was the same. And honestly, like my family and like my entire family was always just like, you go to the doctor, that's what you do. You're sick, you go to the doctor, you get medication. And had no idea that that is, I mean, part of the problem,
Yeah.
to say it nicely, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We live in a very backwards society, and we want quick fixes. And yeah, I mean, healing is a journey, and it takes so much time. Yeah, what are some of the things that really helped you in your journey?
I think that honestly, it might seem really broad, but just to have the switch of I'm not fighting my body was really powerful to me. And that's something I really try and implement with my clients is, you know, do the lab testing so that your brain can switch to I'm not fighting a disease. I'm not fighting this broken body. My body is working and communicating, and I'm actually fighting mold toxicity. I'm actually fighting heavy metals. So I think that brain shift for me was really powerful, because with chronic illness, it's really easy to feel isolated. It's really easy to feel like nobody understands. It's really easy to hate your body. And I know that this resonates with you because you love the emotional aspect of healing, which I'd love for you to share about that. So I think, honestly, that was a big thing for me. And then when it comes to supplements, just like revolutionizing my life, switching everything, the way that I ate, the way that I did my day, being more conscious of how I'm moving, what I'm thinking, what my body is doing and saying, and like listening. Do I need to rest? Do I need to, and some of that. So it's been really powerful. Yeah. Would you share a little bit about what you do at Spirit of Health, like what your role is? I know you've had a lot of roles over the years.
Dip my toes everywhere. But mainly I'm seeing clients right now and work one-on-one with clients to help figure out the root causes of any sort of symptoms or diagnosis, and then help create a healing protocol for them. So so we work through things like diet recommendations, getting them on some really supportive supplements to help give their body what it needs and support their drainage pathways. That's such a big part of healing. Doing lab testing to figure out what are those root causes. That's such a huge part. I see it as you're getting all these puzzle pieces that you can put together versus, I mean, there have been numerous times where we could have someone fill out the paperwork and it looks like it's mold or heavy metals, something like that. And then it's like, oh no, you have something way different going on. So we're going to completely change the protocol. And so, yeah,
I think that's a powerful tool too. Like, I have just realized, like, we can get really tunnel vision. This is, I think, in life we can do that. And I'm someone, I don't know how you are, but I'm someone who's like, well, why? What's the why? Like, why is my shoulder hurting? Did I overextend it? Did I, do I have an infection? And I'm always like trying to find the one thing. But I think that's the thing I've learned with how useful lab testing is, because you realize it's usually not one thing. And then you also put a different name to the issues that your body is having. So I love that aspect of working with clients and stuff. So yeah. And I know that we've talked about this several times about like how healing is body, mind, and spirit. And that you are passionate to the core about emotional health and healing and inner healing. And I actually don't know, like, how did you get into that? Could you share a little bit about?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, because for a while, I mean, I'm still passionate about physical detox, you know, going after different toxins, things like that, and eating well. But the more I've connected with like my heart and allowed myself to feel deeply and work through past trauma and pain, belief systems, all of that, the more I'm like, this stuff is so foundational, and it's just this passion inside of me. And I think for me, I didn't realize that I dealt with anxiety for like chronically for most of my life until I moved here, because you could take something for anxiety and then it lifts it and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this is how you're supposed to feel every day.
This is supposed to be what it feels like.
I know. Yeah, so I started taking, you know, people would send in samples of CBD and things like that, and I'm like, okay, well, I feel relief from this chronic anxiety I've felt all my life, and then started going on this journey of learning about the heart and learning about how emotions are stored in the body. They're not just these ethereal things. They're like physical matter that gets stored in different organs. Like different cultures throughout the world have known this and have practiced emotional release and helping people work through trauma. And so I see it as such a foundational element of healing. And I think that especially in America, our culture is so disconnected from pain and from past stressors and trauma and things like that, that it's just so easy to live distracted here. You know, there's distractions all over the place to fill our lives with things that help us not connect with the emotions that we need to process.
Yeah. I think that it's like that tunnel vision I mentioned. We like to separate things. We like to decide that your emotions don't affect your body doesn't affect your spirit, none of those things, but it all is connected, which I know that you are passionate about. And I think that's been a big part of healing, and I have so many clients that'll, you know, it seems like they're just like, well, just give me something to help my body. And sometimes the breakthrough actually has to come emotionally for them to see that breakthrough. Yeah, that's totally true. So can you share some things about like some clients that have been like great testimonies, or some of those, I always call them aha moments, where moments that you love with working with people?
Recently a client that I had previously been working with her, and she was doing great, and then all of a sudden she noticed she had a lump in her breast and a lot of redness and soreness, and she was really concerned about that, but she knew she didn't want to go get a mammogram. So she did the thermography, and they were concerned about it. So she started doing follow-ups with me again, and it wasn't just like a couple months and the redness is gone, the lump is gone, she feels great, she's going back. And like, I just love something like that can seem so scary for a lot of women. And unfortunately, the medical industry makes it like that. Like, they don't treat it the way that it needs to be treated, I guess. So to give someone hope and simple therapies they can do at home, and herbs, and just opening up their drainage pathway, and, you know, lymph movement, it's just like this powerful stuff to help heal the body. And she's doing great, and she's not afraid of, you know, what could be or what could have been. That's awesome. I know. What about you? What kind of testimonies can you think of?
I always think of one when I think of, I guess it just was probably the biggest, that that has been recently. There's been a couple really good ones, but I first started seeing this guy that came in, and he was having these really frequent and pretty aggressive, he would call them attacks, where his heart rate would increase like crazy high. He'd have kind of this internal convulsions, kind of like an anxiety attack, but his heart rate would go crazy high. And I remember in our first appointment, he said to me, I won't go back to the emergency room. He had been at least 3 times. He said, I won't go back because I'm afraid they're going to put me in a straitjacket. And just basically said, every time I go, they say there's nothing wrong with you. Yeah, your heart rate is high, but go home. And with working with him, you know, I said, these symptoms that you're having, you know, we could look for a diagnosis like you would if you were seeing a doctor, but like, let's try and get to that root cause. So we did lab testing, found out he had some crazy high mold toxicity, fungal stuff going on. And he went from having those attacks every day, sometimes multiple times a day, where it would impede him doing work, impede him working out, and to he hasn't had one for months, not a single thing. So I just love that. And then they get on this charge of like, this has worked. And he actually went back to one of his doctors, and he was like, this was my issue, mold toxicity. And the doctor was like, I don't know. Can I look at that? And actually took his lab testing that we had done and was like, I'm going to do some research because I've never heard of this being a thing. So that was really cool. And that's not a normal thing from a lot of doctors either. So that's a good one. And then recently been working with this sweet girl who went without periods for several years. And for the last 4 months, she's had a regular cycle and hasn't had the pain that she's had in the past. And you know, she has goals to have babies, and you know, so that's been some really beautiful stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And I just always love seeing people's responses. You know, they come in, even sometimes they come to us like as a last resort. You know, doctors wouldn't believe me. I don't know where else to turn. And they're a little skeptical, and then they go through the first, you know, few months of working with us, and they're like, then they get, and I'm sure you have had this where they're like diehards, and they're like, I've been doing this research, you know?
Yeah.
Where you're like, I got into it now. I've heard about this. And sometimes they'll bring stuff up to me. Do you have clients that do that too?
For sure. I know.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I think it's fun too. We do a symptom tracker, and having the clients look back at the symptoms and how they rated them when they first came in, and then a month, 2 months later, and it's funny to me because a lot of times they forget, you know, symptoms that they put on there and they rated really high, and they're like, oh yeah, I haven't had that in a month. Like, I forgot about that one. It's like, it's so encouraging.
Yeah, because it's so much easier to know when things are worse. I mean, we're like that too. Like, oh, my shoulder. I don't know why I'm only talking about my shoulder. My shoulder doesn't hurt, but oh, my shoulder hurts. But then, like, if you've had chronic shoulder pain, then when it stops hurting, I think your mind just knows like that's supposed to be normal, so you don't even realize it. And that's why I love like when people have good support systems, when their husbands will tell the wives like, you're different, like you couldn't do this before. Yeah. And I love hearing that. I actually had a client the other day that said, I was out playing basketball with my son, and I thought I would, because of my chronic pain, would never be able to do that. And his son actually had said it when they were playing, like, I never thought I'd do this with you, Dad.
Wow.
And like that moment was so big, because he was like, yeah, I never thought I'd be able to do that with you either, buddy. And like, I don't know, that just makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
You know, his symptoms, that hope,
gosh.
that inspiration. So it's amazing.
That is.
Yeah. What are some things like in your personal health journey that have been really beneficial to you? I know you mentioned breakthrough with your emotions and some of that, but I know you've worked a lot health-wise.
Yeah, so definitely the emotional healing, inner healing stuff has been huge. I would say really working on my liver has helped a lot. When I moved here, I actually had a lot of acne, just really bad skin conditions, and just did all of our cleanses. But when I got to the liver cleanse,
you did all of the cleanses?
I did. I haven't done the heavy metal one, but yes, when I got to the liver one, within a week, my skin was just glowing. I was like, okay.
I was going to say, your skin is beautiful. Has it been like that ever since? Or have you had a lot of...
Yeah, and I love just to support my liver. That's kind of a thing that I think is important. So, yeah, TUDCA,
That's my fave.
Yeah, the Tudka's amazing.
By Cellcore.
Yes. You could do the liver tea. That's a really good one. I do MSM powder, coffee enemas, or I'll even just do Tudka enemas. Those
You know, I love the coffee enemas.
Yes. Yeah. Can you tell more about your love for coffee enemas?
I never thought in my life that I would have such a reputation for enemas and coffee enemas. But I remember when I first came to Vaughn and my hand was pretty much crippled and I couldn't do much. I left and he gave me these recommendations and I said, okay, but like bottom line is, how do I get this back? You know, and he was like, you want to know the truth? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, enemas. And I was like, what? What's that? And this sweet, sweet girl, Hannah B, that worked there at the same time as you, she walked me through what it was, and it became like a huge part of my healing journey. And then learning more about how important liver health was and how much you can support it by doing coffee enemas is so big. So it's just a great tool, and I have found like how much I've just learned to listen to my body and how I can tell through symptomology, like when my liver is needing extra support. So using some of those supportive herbs and stuff like that. But coffee enemas have been really great. Like I think about, for me, it's been like, I'll get these specific kinds of headaches, as headaches are a lot of times associated with liver congestion. And I can do a coffee enema and the headache will be gone, where, you know, I've tried medications in the past, and so I just think it's amazing. And when you have that kind of connection, you're like, oh, like maybe the liver is really, really important. So yeah, that's part of the reason why I love enemas.
Yep. Enemas, I would say also parasite cleansing.
Yes.
That's something I think everyone needs to do. What is the test for if you have a parasite?
Yeah.
Put your fingers on your pulse.
Yes, if you have a pulse, you probably have parasites. I always love when I talk to clients about that and they're like, they get that face of like, what? And I'm like, no. They don't like crawl out of you. You're not going to see them like crawling around. They come out dead. You know, some of those conversations that are, you know, not conversations I ever thought I would have with people.
Yeah.
But they're just so common and they can hurt so much.
Yeah. And I like to explain to clients, like the goal isn't get all the parasites out. It's finding balance. Like a lot of infectious organisms and things like that, it's really about finding the right balance and really nourishing, strengthening your own good gut bacteria to keep the pathogenic ones in check. So with parasite cleansing, they can just get out of control. So it's really just about, you know, rhythms of, okay, let's do a parasite cleanse this year because I want to keep them in check. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I think about that with like gut microbiome too. Like, you know, working with a lot of people, of course, you see candida come up and I'm like, well, you're supposed to have an amount of candida in your body.
It's just that,
you're just supposed to have those balance of organisms. So, you know, we start to make these things like the enemy, like big, you know, issue, like get rid of all the parasites, get rid of all the candida, when it's really like, no, let's like recreate balance. And I feel kind of that in life is like, it's not about doing extreme diets. It's not about, you know, like only eating vegan or only eating meat. You know, there's a lot of those trends, but I think like there's seasons for stuff like that, and finding the balance and finding what's really nourishing your body is really great. Yeah.
Gosh. I mean, I love recommending seasonal eating. That's one thing, like eat with the seasons, eat in the climate that you live in, like not just vegan for 10 years, because people have like, it helps their health for a little while, and then boom, they crash and they have all these terrible symptoms going on. So
we've seen a lot of people like that. I think it is just those extremes, and we have to be careful of that, even in our thinking, you know, extreme thinking. Yeah, should we do one last question?
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe like what are the main supplements that you recommend like right off the bat for clients, even before you maybe know what their root cause is, their big picture is? What are some of the main things you tell them to do or try?
Yeah, good question. For sure, the pH balancer.
Yes.
Love the pH balancer.
Yes. I do that a lot with my clients at the beginning because I'm learning like so many people are malnourished.
Yes.
Yeah. Even if they're eating really healthy, like if you have gut dysbiosis or you don't have the right amount of enzymes to be able to break it down. You're not absorbing a lot of that. And so, I think it's so good to just give that extra support. And it's like so all inclusive. It's got so many.
It has stuff for hormones. It has greens. It has stuff for detox support, immune support. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And such a foundational element of health and healing is the mitochondria. So it's going to help strengthen and support the mitochondria. So we have to really energize the body because detox takes energy. So helping with that is huge.
Yeah. There's a lot of, vicious cycles kind of in health and chronic illness because like these toxins, whatever the toxicity may be, break down the mitochondria, but mitochondria is essential to be able to detox those things.
Yes.
It's same thing with like drainage is like, yes, we are exposed to toxins in the world, and that breaks down our pathways, and then our pathways are needed to be able to release those things. So it's just these vicious cycles, which is why we get to come in and support that. And that's one of the best things, I think. So fun. Okay, what other products do you recommend?
Another Mother Earth Labs product.
Okay.
The Humic and Fulvic SC.
Yeah.
Super concentrate.
Yes.
Minerals. Again, supporting the mitochondria, and they help detox the gut. So I like starting with detoxing and healing the gut because healing happens like from the inside in the gut out. So that's a really supportive, good one. What about you?
Yeah. That's one of the main ones I do, pH balancer. And then really depending on some of their symptomology, I really try and support the liver a lot. So I'll recommend some sort of like kidney liver support, like kale support, for from Cellcore. And a lot of times, because so many people are chronically constipated and don't realize that they should be having 2 to 3 bowel movements every day, a lot of times I'll come in with some sort of like Mago 7 that is like that magnesium product to just help increase bowel movements. Because if you're not pooping, there's no place for those toxins to come out.
Exactly.
So
it backs up the train. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's true. It's totally true.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The advanced detox support. That's
good liver product.
Yeah, liver and all over support, lymph, kidney. So, and it's a gentle one, but it works really, really well. So I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's so nice talking to you today.
You too.
I always love
thanks
sharing
for joining us,
stories.
everybody.
Yeah, thanks.